we got a big showdown today. Now the viewer discretion is advised on this one because this could make a lot of people angry. Or it could make me angry, we'll see. ZT, what is this one called? I think it's a 301. ZT0301 versus AK-47. Now we already had a ZT0350, maybe not perform the way it was intended. And so now people are saying, oh, test the big ZT301 or 3 whatever frame lock. So we're fighting out of our weight class on this, which is a huge disadvantage. And again, I might be bargaining up the wrong tree by going up against a 5.3 ounce AK-47 versus an 8.2 ounce frame lock. Although all this weight could be kind of dumb muscle, so we'll see. This one's, we have the thumb disc and pocket clip taken off of the pocket clip off this. The edges and points are removed. I have 2 ZTs ready to go. Just in case one does not pass, I'd like this to pass this test and then go ahead to the weight hang, because that's what we expect our AK to do. If it does not pass this, we want to also test its weight, gross weight. So we'll take a brand new knife and go over there for the weight hang. Realistically, it should do both, but we don't know how it will perform. So the AKs, all G10 frame, XHP blade, and DLC coating. There's no steel in the handle whatsoever, except for the locking bar, an insert under the pocket clip, so you're not attached to G10, and the aluminum back spacer. This ZT, G10 on the front side, with probably a tie liner, full thick frame lock on the back, tie, beautifully CNC machine on both sides. It does have the speed safe. And this one, interestingly, has a steel insert on the lock bar. A typical, maybe not a design flaw, but a typical weakness of frame locks is the titanium frame can get beat up by the blade tang in hard use. So they've added the steel insert there, so you have probably hardened steel onto hardened steel. Although it's probably, it might be, I don't know what it is. It's probably not full hard. It might be like a 416 or something. They have a heavy duty pivot. I have no doubt this is a strong knife as far as lateral strength and hard stuff, but we're not questioning any of that. We only want to know, is it impact resistant, and does the lock hold up? Is the lock strong? It's got a pretty thickly ground blade. It's pretty thick on the edge. It's not overly thick. It's a stout blade for sure. The AK's quite a bit more finely ground. You'll find things that this blade can do that this blade cannot do, and vice versa. As far as maybe cutting ease or whatever. That's kind of common sense for the end user to know what a blade can do and cannot do, and what it should be used for and not. We're just calling those out because, again, we're only worried about here is the lock performance, the overall performance of the knife. Now let me point out that the 8.2 ounce knife versus the 5.3 ounce, realistically we should test not so much the size of the knife but the weight of the knife. So we would give you normally, for 8.1 ounces you can get 5.5 inch recoil 1. These are realistically the same weight. At Cold Steel we try to give you the highest strength to weight ratio. We could make this AK, a heavier duty AK with steel liners or tie liners. We're just not interested in putting more weight than necessary in there because we want a high strength to weight ratio again. So, if this ZT is stronger than the AK, well, it should be. It's 3 ounces more, based on its own weight. Then we would say, well, then it has to fight in its weight class now. It has to take the big knife on. It's the same weight. But we're going to go with the theory that forget the weight of the knife. We're going to go with the theory that these are comparable in size, so they're comparable in your pocket, what you would want to buy and carry. There's a lot of good things to be said for made in America. At the same time, you can get a perfectly fine knife made in Taiwan, as I think we'll show here. So let's put it in the machine and see what happens. Luckily, that's a hard use knife. It's a beast, and that won't hurt that. It was a brand new one, not even out of the wrapper. So we got a lot of hate mail, unfortunately, about what happened with the other ZT knife. I would complain to ZT. I wouldn't complain to Cold Steel about the performance. All right, so my AK, my ZT. ZT goes first. And we'll show that work one more time. That's it. That's what happens when you open it, so let's see. I worry that the lock is not real, doesn't have a lot of pressure on the blade to allow the speed safe to work. And sometimes there's a direct correlation between the pressure on the blade and it staying in there under impact or hard use. But this does have the still insert, so let's see what happens. 5 to pass. 1. Check that torque. Going good so far. 2. 3. 4. And last one. 5. Okay, as we take this off, we'll take a look. A little play, but I mean, that's allowed. It's a rough spot. I don't know what's going on with that. It really doesn't matter. It passed that. Okay, we'll set that here. Put the AK on. Now notice that the whole location that these are mounted in was the same from the pivot here, the pivot here. So everything is relative as far as where it's striking versus its blade length, pivot length, whatever. I got accused of cheating last time and drawing out the liner on the other ZT, and that's why it failed. That is not the case. We would not do anything unfair. 3. 4. And last one, number 5. Alright, so now, this is going to be cool that we're actually able to use the same knife.
That's first.
Is that a first?
Yeah.
Alright, that's...
Make sure they see that that lock has not been drilled through, tampered with.
Alright, we can take a close-up of the lock. We were luckily on this particular one, all we had to do was open up the lanyard hole. It was probably about 3/16, we put it at a quarter. So we didn't do anything in regards to that. Alright, so now we're gonna load it up. Mount this where this knife will shut at 90 degrees. See that going? Making sure that's a good working knife. It's the one just out of the impact machine. And over here, okay, so here we go. Everything's locked in. I'm gonna start with 90 pounds. easy task for both those knives. Now, easy task for knives, now my job becomes hard.
Yes, sir.
135. Okay, looking like a pretty easy job for both knives. I should mention that the steel insert in the ZT acts like also an over travel stop, so you can't unlock the blade and push the locking bar, the liner, or the leaf, whatever it is, the frame. You can't push it and kind of unbend it. Where are we at now?
180.
180. All right, both of them hanging on, no problem. Obviously the frame lock is pretty good, going out pretty good. It's a respectable amount now. Kind of respectable. Alright.
Deuce and a quarter.
2 1/4.
225.
Really, for sure? I don't never remember going 2 1/4.
Well, you take the 45 and you times that by the 5.
That's what you get, huh?
That's what you get.
That's true. I know that. All right, here we go. 225. Wait, I want to make sure this is hanging dead even. I can't believe I get accused of not being fair because I do everything I can for these to work well. All right, that's pretty good. All right, where we at now?
270.
Oh, 270.
Gloves are off for this one.
The gloves are off. We had a contender. Uh-oh. It buckled. Just as soon as that weight got it,
You could just see it slowly start.
yeah. Alright, well there's your AK, the underdog as far as, you know, weight, strength, whatever. Easily holding the 270 pounds. Now, let's be honest, the ZT, you know, that's no slouch. No slouch at all. We've seen better from other, you know, I think the Axis lock and of course the Spyraco, whatever that was.
The Tonka.
The Tonka was a force to be reckoned with. So here's where this is the thing about frame locks, is they're only as strong as, what do you say about a chain? It's only as strong as its weakest link. Well, the relief that allows a frame lock to work properly and be a frame lock, really that, if you think about that part right there, is no different than the liner lock, that little bit. So I'll bring that in and you can have a look there. I got a zigzag in it.
Kind of hard to see with the lighting, but.
Now, I should have mentioned, you know, this has a high price. It's made in America. It's got all the awesome materials, 30B blade, titanium. The actual retail one is $340. Pretty expensive. And the online price is about, I found it for $295. There's not a huge amount of savings online, but there is a savings. And the AK, which we're going to stop there because, you know, its opponent just tapped out basically. The AK is, the XHP AK is $175, which you can find for about, and XHP you can find it for $114 on Amazon. So the Amazon price of this is $114. This was $295. So, and also we can tell you that, you know, the weight that this held, there's a certain strength to weight ratio that we usually don't get into because we always have a layer knife or equal to weight knife. But if you have whatever that knife held last, what was it,
225.
It held 225. If you divide that 225 by the weight of this knife, which is, what is it, 8.2 ounces? I'll tell you right now. And this one says 8 ounces. This one. It's saying 8 ounces now. So you got 8 ounces versus 5 ounces. Anyway, what do you get?
28 for the ZT.
So this thing, would it hold 225 pounds and that's it?
Yep.
You sure? Yep. At holding 225, this thing held what?
28.125.
28 pounds per ounce. This thing, it held the
Held the 270.
270 divided by the 5 ounces.
54.
So right now, this is running 54 pounds an ounce, and this is
27.
27 pounds
28.
an ounce, 28 pounds an ounce. And this is still going to go. We're not going to, but this could still go. So that gives you an idea of the actual strength to weight ratio that, you know, we're looking to achieve at cold steel. Typically, we want to hit at least as a minimum of 50 pounds an ounce for a knife. And this is already at what? What did I say? What? You know, never mind. Don't calculate again. They can rewind. Anyway, winner. Cold steel AK-47.